Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
At President Trump's rally tonight in Pennsylvania, scattered among the crowd are people who believe in some conspiracy theories that are so broad and often bizarre, it's difficult to believe, to put it mildly. It's no longer an isolated thing. Take a look. The sign with a Q on it stands for QAnon. This video is from the presidential rally in Tampa 2 nights ago. Last night on the broadcast, we focused more closely on what the group believes in and their views from the fringes of American political thought. Tonight, we wanted to give them a chance to have their say, but because so much has been written about their reluctance to talk, we weren't sure what we would get when we sent Gary Tuchman to tonight's Trump rally. Gary joins us now. So what happened?
Well, Anderson, the rally just ended a short time ago. People are now streaming out. Many of these people arriving earlier this morning, waiting in line. And like I said, we wanted to see if the people who followed this movement wanted to talk to us, and we found that they did want to talk to us, and what they told us was quite interesting. Waiting in line in a driving rain, very motivated Trump supporters wanting to see the president in person in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
We are Q.
Some of those people wearing and holding the 17th letter of the alphabet. Are you holding a big red, white, and blue Q? Why do you have that?
It's a movement, man. It's the shift. I can feel it coming. Some call it the Great Awakening.
You're wearing a shirt that says Q, WWG, 1WGA. What does that mean?
It means where we go one, we go all.
QAnon is the people that believe in what Trump's trying to do to change our country.
That is a generalization. More specifically, what QAnon is a fringe movement in which many baseless conspiracy theories are discussed on the internet, organized around the idea of an anonymous but well-connected person or persons nicknamed Q. Your shirt says the storm is here, QAnon. What does that mean to you?
Well, I've been following all the posts since October 28th.
On the internet, from QAnon.
Right, started on
the person or people who say they're Q.
Right.
What do you think Q is, by the way?
It's an entity of 10 or less people that have
involved with the government?
high clearance, security clearance.
And how do you know that?
Well, I'm just telling you, this is what it appears to be.
What it appears to be. So you don't have any proof of that. That's what you're guessing it is.
And you don't have any proof there isn't.
We've all been gathering online and talking together as Americans and uniting. And
do you think it's maybe just it makes you comfortable talking with other frustrated, sometimes angry people?
Yes.
But maybe it's not true because there's no evidence of it. It's just stuff being talked about on the internet, right?
There hasn't been any non-evidence yet.
A major mantra among QAnon followers: the press is the enemy.
You guys are.
So you don't believe in the First Amendment?
Oh, I totally believe in the First
Well, you
Amendment.
don't. You just said the press is
Well,
the enemy.
you guys are weaponized. You guys are totally weaponized by the CIA.
What is that?
You guys are weaponized
By the CIA.
by the CIA.
I don't know anybody in the CIA except a couple of people I've interviewed over the years.
Fair. Okay.
But weaponized, what does that even mean? Like you say stuff that doesn't even mean anything.
The term
weaponized by the CIA.
Conspiracy theorists. The term.
Do you think I'm weaponized by the CIA?
Maybe not to your knowledge. That's unfortunate.
You believe there is a deep state.
Yes.
And what do you think that deep state's doing? You think they're running this country?
I think they were, and they're petrified now.
Right.
Because they're losing their control.
But Donald Trump's the president. He's running the country, right?
Yeah, but he's having to fight against the
I mean,
deep
he
state.
said he could do it all himself. Everything would be so easy when he came into office. And you think he's fighting with the deep state a year and a half into his term?
I think he's been fighting since before he was elected.
And who is in this deep state? Who are the people in it?
Oh, I definitely believe that, like the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas.
So you think the Clintons, the Bushes, and the Obamas are running this country as we stand here in the rain?
No, they're trying.
The anonymous Q is a hero to many here. One man actually hoping to communicate with Q by looking straight into our camera. Is it possible you're believing bogus information, yes or no?
Is it possible that I'm believing bogus information?
No.
I mean, let's see. Let's see, Q. Let's see.
Gary, did you get the impression that large numbers of people who were lined up for the rally support the QAnon movement? Because obviously, if there are thousands of people at a rally, what sort of numbers do you see?
Yeah, I don't think it was large numbers, Anderson. A lot of people we talked to had no idea what it was. And other people just wanted to see Donald Trump, and some people just wanted to see a president of the United States with their children. So it seems like a relatively small number. What I will tell you is that it's catching on, and I would anticipate at future rallies we'll see more people holding big Qs and wearing clothes with Qs on them.
Do the people you talk to believe that President Trump supports QAnon?
Well, President Trump has never said anything about this organization. Also, if you could call it an organization, this internet fraternity. Sarah Sanders, the press secretary, was asked about it yesterday, and she did not give the indication at all that President Trump supports it, the contrary. However, each and every person I talk to who follows this does believe, fervently believes, that Donald Trump is a supporter, even though he hasn't said so.
All right, Gary, appreciate you being there. Thank you. Joining me now is Will Summer, reporter for the Daily Beast, who's been writing about QAnon pretty much since its inception. Appreciate you being with us. Do you have any idea how many followers QAnon actually has? How many people believe in these conspiracy theories? Because I certainly don't want to paint, everybody who's at this rally with such a broad brush. As Gary was saying, it seems like it's a relatively small number of people who went to this rally.
Certainly not. It is hard to tell how many people believe in it. Certainly you wouldn't want to say everyone at the rally, everyone who's a diehard Trump supporter. But at the same time, the numbers, at these rallies, we're seeing maybe a couple dozen QAnon believers. That's pretty bizarre given what QAnon people believe. In April, there was a QAnon rally in D.C. I went to that. A couple hundred people showed up. They were chanting the QAnon slogans. So that was before this stuff really hit the mainstream over the summer and only in one city. So, whatever it is remarkable that so many people have become convinced of this. And
from what I understand, people who believe in the QAnon thing have a different belief of what the Robert Mueller investigation actually is. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So, they interpret these clues that are posted online. And so they've come to believe that Robert Mueller is actually in league with Trump and a sort of ally of his. And the idea that Mueller is investigating the Trump campaign is all sort of a ruse to cover up that Mueller is really investigating the likes of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama.
So why would Donald Trump be attacking the Mueller investigation?
That's all part of the, that's
cover.
all part of the ruse.
I see. So, I understand a rival to Q has now emerged, someone who goes by the letter, or multiple people go by the letter R. Is that right?
That's right. So Q kind of disappeared in July, and so his followers, as you can see, are very devoted, and they were left sort of bereft. And then someone named R showed up and started giving clues, and they said, oh, well, maybe, this is the new guy to follow. And they posited that R was the JFK, John F. Kennedy Jr., who, of course, died nearly 2 decades ago. And then Q came back and said, don't trust that guy. Like with any conspiracy theory, you end up with a lot of factions.
So does this have anything to do with the Pizzagate folks, that people believed, there are people, Democrats or Hillary Clinton or others, running a pedophile ring in a pizza parlor basement?
Absolutely. QAnon is, in a way, sort of like a more respectable mega Pizzagate. A key part of QAnon is this idea that Trump is, he's not just fighting against the deep state to the extent of like the intelligence agencies or the Clintons. He's fighting against what they believe to be global pedophile networks amongst the elites all over the world. So they have no evidence for this. It's really crazy stuff. But they've kind of folded Pizzagate and a lot of other conspiracies into this sort of giant conspiracy theory.
And I understand that some people believe that the president has given them secret signs, like that. The way he holds his hand or puts some fingers together, he's forming the letter Q during speeches. Is that right?
Yeah, so they're like obsessed with, as we saw in the video, getting some sort of validation from Trump that Q is real. And so like they'll look at videos and they'll say maybe he's moving his hand in a way that's like a Q, or if he mentions the number 17, which of course Q is the 17th letter in the alphabet, they see that as a sign. They've been asking a lot of White House reporters to ask Trump about Q. It doesn't seem like anyone has taken them up on their offers, but they seem to feel that this, if Trump was asked about it, they're convinced he would say, oh yeah, it's all real.
Does anyone seem to know who the person Q actually is, or if it is a one person, or if it's groups of people?
Q's identity right now is very mysterious. Whether it's one person, a group of people, maybe a foreign operative. There's a lot of theories going around, but really nothing that I think is worth considering. I think perhaps it's maybe just a troll or a couple trolls in a basement somewhere, and this whole thing's gotten out of hand.
So the core, can you just explain again the core belief? Because the whole international pedophile ring, it linked with the deep state, and Robert Mueller's actually working with President Trump. I mean, it's all, outlandish.
Yeah, it's very confusing. I mean, sort of and it's constantly growing, like sort of with something will happen in the news and they'll claim, oh, the deep state tried to shoot down Air Force One. Sort of the gist of it is that Trump has teamed up with the military and sort of various virtuous world leaders, including Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, to take on this global cabal of Democrats and Hollywood elites and bankers and all this kind of stuff who they claim are essentially responsible for all the evil in the world. And soon Trump will have all these people arrested.
And I do enjoy our time together, not least at moments like this where I kind of just feel the need to offload on you. And the thing I want to offload is, how did this happen? Listening to Obama there, like a sort of voice of reason from 12 years ago, well, actually from 4 years ago. How did we end up in a place where the president talks about disinfectant being a cure for COVID, injecting disinfectant? How do we end up in a place where 666 children have been separated from their parents and face the prospect of never being reunited because the policy was simply brought in to throw red meat at racists? Did you see the footage of the wall? It might have been fake, but it made me laugh. The fellow, the construction worker who was thin enough to slip through the gaps between the bits of wall that now stand between Mexico and Texas. And all of this is hilarious until you look at the election results. I know he's still denying reality, but he's kind of always done that. It's the tens of millions of people that go along with him that are so heartbreaking and baffling and terrifying, you know? And those words from Obama a moment ago just reminding us of what normal looks like. You don't have to like him or dislike him. You simply have to agree on the basic laws of gravity. And yet here comes Donald Trump claiming that he can float freely through the sky and 70 million people will cheer him to the rafters and pretend that they've seen him do it. It is just incredible. And I know that conspiracy theories predate Donald Trump and they will last long after his departure from the White House, his imminent departure from the White House. But something does change, doesn't it? When people as powerful as that either fail to refute the lies that are being told around them or indeed endorse them. There's a QAnon, I think it's probably a state congress rather than the National Congress. But a full-on QAnon disciple has been elected in the last month in America. I think to a state congress. It may be the National Congress, I'm not sure. But it doesn't really matter, does it? That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And these are the people that Barack Obama, I mean, his voice there. Can we listen to the shorter version again? We're not talking about this, but the end of it where he talks about the reality of who he is and how he is portrayed. You know, the idea that Hillary Clinton could be involved in a paedophile ring. And these are the moments where I lose it. Not the plot, I lose the thread. You know, if my life was rubbish and the people responsible for it being rubbish told me to blame Polish builders, I can see how I might, if the cards had fallen differently in my life, I might have fallen for that. If people who had spent 10 years railing against food banks used a foreign aid story to pretend that they suddenly care about, quotes, our own, end quotes, I can see how I might fall for that. But the idea that Hillary Clinton's closest associates were running a secret paedophile ring from the basement of a pizza restaurant in New York and that Donald Trump is going to lead a fight back against an international cabal of children's smugglers harvesting their blood to provide the Hollywood elite with elixirs of youth, that's where I lose it, I'm afraid. It's the willingness, not just the ability. We're all capable of believing nonsense. It's the willingness to believe it. The idea that people got up in the morning and said, come and bombard me with your bonkersness and I will believe it all. These are the moments where I do wonder whether or not there were some forks in the evolutionary road and half of the species went one way and the other half went the other way. The blind loyalty thing I've been thinking about a lot. I've been reading a bit about the First World War because it was Armistice Day last week. I always try and read up a bit about the lives of some of my favourite First World War poets. And it always brings me back to, you know, I go on about the why. I say the why. I don't think you can win wars with whys. You can only win wars with whats. So we're going to war against Germany. Right, fine, sign me up, down with Germany. Why are we going to war against Germany? Well, don't ask that. So the Second World War is an exception to this rule for obvious reasons. But the why of it, you need to be able to muster an army. You think back to the English Civil War. People killing their neighbours because they were the wrong flavour of patriot. It's incredible, right? But it's all about encouraging people never to ask why, only ever to ask what. What side am I on? red or blue? What side am I on? Roundhead or Cavalier? What side am I on? What? You now believe that there's a paedophile? And that's where it all comes from. And the culmination of it, I think he's dead right, Obama. I don't think you can understand the number of people, and I know from my own personal life that there are people who've bought into elements of the QAnon nonsense that are just as repulsed by Trump's depravity as I am. I've got one mate in particular who is convinced that the vaccines are part of a plan to control the population. But he's as disgusted by Donald Trump's depravity as I am. And Obama's got to be right. Once you break it, once truth decay sets in, you don't really get to control what rots next. So I'll just play you a shorter clip from this amazing, well, outwardly amazing interview. I've only heard bits of it that David Olusoga has done with Barack Obama. And then we'll get stuck into the microchips element of the COVID conspiracies. And I mean, how do you persuade someone that not just that you should take the vaccine, all right? How do you persuade someone that the vaccine does not contain secret microchips that Bill Gates is going to use to control your mind? And there's a religious element to this, which I stumbled across yesterday outside a railway station in West London, where people were using loudhailers to claim that it was the work of Satan. The scientists are going to put microchips in you to undo God's work. To which, you know me, I wanted to heckle and shout, who made the scientists? But it was neither the time nor the place. So have a little listen to this.
But there are millions of people who subscribe to the notion that Joe Biden is a socialist. Who subscribe to the notion that Hillary Clinton was part of a evil cabal that was involved in pedophile rings. That kinds of stuff is constantly circulating. What's been interesting, obviously, and sad during this election is that that kind of lack of fidelity to the truth has consequences when it's being promoted by the most powerful elected official in the country. And the pandemic is a classic example of reality biting back.
That's it, isn't it? That's the fundamental problem with so-called both sidesism, is that if reality is on one side, what the flip is on the other side. And that's where it ends up. The idea that, well, you tell me what your friend believes, or your family member, or your loved one, okay? And there is an element of religion creeping into it now, which I find even more dismaying. We stumbled across it firsthand yesterday, but I've already had a couple of texts about it, one of which I was really hoping to read out, and then inevitably I've lost it. Someone's mum, who he describes as a born-again Christian, genuinely believes that the vaccines are going to contain microchips. So let's do a bit on the background. I'll read you some examples of what these people believe, and this is from the BBC journalist Mariana Spring's work. She's been doing astonishing work on this front, but it shouldn't really be astonishing because it's been bubbling away for a while. Vaccine is likely to include a nanochip, which not only tracks your location. Just got a flashback then to when Farrell said he wouldn't use an Oyster card because the government would be able to track where he was going. A vaccine is likely to include a nanochip, which not only tracks your location, but can control / influence your feelings and thoughts and cause you pain. Directed energy weapons beam at chip and cause pain. And then, various appeals to various Auntie Dorises. The Microsoft patent is real enough, so why not reassure people instead of attacking them? Get Microsoft and the vaccine makers to clarify that this has nothing to do with creating digital ID. Otherwise, your actions will simply add to the conspiracists and destroy further trust, not help them. Now, you know what we do? We say, why? Why would Bill Gates want to put a microchip in my bloodstream and control me? I'm very boring. Why? So, can we describe the rabbit hole? I will today take calls from people who genuinely believe that Bill Gates wants to put microchips into their bloodstream in a way that I don't normally take calls from people who think that vaccines are actually medically dangerous. Similarly, legitimate concerns about a vaccine being safe and having gone through the proper test and exposure, the proper peer-reviewed testing and things like that, that's fine too. But for the purposes of this conversation, what I really want to do is end the hour understanding how someone could have ended up believing that a vaccine designed to protect us from, an incredibly lethal virus, the evidence of which we've spent the whole of 2020 watching unfold. How could someone end up believing that the vaccine will contain a microchip designed to help Bill Gates and or any other control us? It's a bit like trying to speak Chinese without ever having had any Chinese lessons. I know it's a language. I know it exists. I kind of know it when I hear it, but I wouldn't be able to speak it in a million years. How, and if you know someone, you might have a slightly better grasp, because I just still can't get it. There's bits of it I can get. I understand why Andrew Wakefield's appalling conduct over the MMR vaccine caused such long and lasting problems. I get that. Just about get the idea that because there weren't any real reasons to hate Hillary Clinton, they had to invent some. Otherwise, they'd have to have acknowledge the true reality of the man they were keen to vote for, because he, of course, allowed them to be racist again after 20 years of political correctness. But the simple question of how somebody possessed of even a single figure IQ could have ended up believing that the vaccine is going to contain nanochips designed to control us. I'm afraid it's like trying to speak Chinese. If you speak Chinese, give me a call. That's a figure of speech. 03456060973. Make some sense of it for me. Because there's still a little bit of me that thinks it doesn't exist, James. It's not really. It's just some flippity gibbets on social media. And then you look at the polling that they've done, and you see, actually, there are significant swathes of the population that aren't going to take the vaccine, and a significant swathe of that significant swathe think that it contains microchips. Oh, come on, help me out. It's 12:16. And Keith's in Oxford, and this would have been a contender for punter or parody or whatever we called it last time we played. But I think this is true. My mate said the nanochips in the vaccine are the hoax, and that the nanochips are actually in the hand gel, so we already have the chips in us. I reckon that the vaccine is a plot by Donald Trump to kill off the nanochips and save us all. The second half is a joke. I think the first half is real. And this from Paul. I get this, Paul, but I don't know what to do. Because I think that Barack Obama clip a moment ago reminds us of what happens when you treat people with respect. Because, the idea where you say, well, I respect your point of view. I'm afraid I don't. If your point of view is that the colour of your skin determines your value as a human being, or that the moon is made of cheese, or that that vaccines are designed to control us with secret nanochips, or that Hillary Clinton heads up a secret paedophile ring, I don't respect your point of view. I completely reject it. It's ridiculous. And this notion that there's something equable about, oh yes, I respect your point of view, it's bonkers. So I'll read Paul's text and then you'll understand why I struggled with it. James, your mocking won't turn people off from conspiracies. They have to stop believing them themselves. They might never stop believing. You're kind of right, Paul. But treating them with respect, saying, give me a call and tell me why you think Bill Gates is trying... that's not going to work. That's what the Obama thing was doing. It was pointing out that when you've got someone as powerful as Donald Trump essentially mainlining lies into the bloodstream of the American public, treating those people with respect actually involves treating the lies with respect. And if you start treating the lies with respect, you blur the distinction between the lies and the truth, and you end up where we are. Mark's in Santa Monica. Mark, what made you pick up the phone?
Just about the sort of Bill Gates thing, really.
Yeah, go on.
Because I'm sort of with you on this one. I find it lamentable that he, of all people, should be, singled out in a conspiracy for all of the, for actually putting, you were talking about people that don't like to sort of help other people. I mean, there's a man that's done more than anybody probably on the planet to fund vaccination in places of the world where capitalism would never even seek to look. They almost eradicated polio in India. It was only the military intervention that spoiled that. put loads of research into malaria and AIDS.
There's a list. Someone has done a catalogue of all the reasons why, if you were to pick someone who might be a plausible receptacle for all of this nonsense, Bill Gates would logically be at the very bottom of the list. But then we're being logical. We're being logical, aren't we? Where does it come from, do you think? How does it happen?
Well, I think the problem again is, I can't speak to why there are conspiracy theories, because I think we're all a bit befuddled on that one. But I think with Bill Gates, because it's such a recognisable household name, and possibly it's an extension of the sort of, malice that was held towards Microsoft in the late 90s. And also that being one of the richest people in the world, people naturally assume that he's going to use his money for nefarious means, as opposed to pledging to donate over 90% of it, in his own lifetime, and, that of Warren Buffett's, charitable money as well.
Well, I think we're singing from the same hymn sheet, but I don't think we can be of much use to each other in understanding this one.
No,
where does the desire to believe it come from?
I don't know, because this one is so demonstrably easy to disprove. If anyone did any sort of work on their own time, the Gates Foundation transparently publishes a letter about their work each year. Yes, Microsoft might have patents about nanotechnology and all the rest of it, but if there was such a vaccine that could give me little microchips inside that could actually fix sort of tumours and things like that, then sign me up if there is such a vaccine. Yes. But it is sad, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting him briefly at a conference many years ago now, where he famously unleashed a load of mosquitoes into the audience, and he chuckled as he did it and said, "There's no reason only rich people should have to feel afraid."
Wow.
And it did prove a point, and I suspect they were probably male mosquitoes, so they weren't going to bite anyone anyway. But
the point being that even if you caught malaria, you'd be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And
Wow.
where this comes from with him of all people, I just don't know. And as I say, anyone that does feel that way about him, I just urge them to look up the great work that the Gates Foundation does, and to think, if they could give away 90% of their income if they were him or anybody, whether it be time for any kind of charitable.
Well, it is. He does the things that all of the rabble-rousing kind of demagogues accuse, quotes, liberals, end quotes, of never doing. That's the really... Well, if you care so much about all these poor foreigners, why don't you give them all your money? And Bill Gates turns around and says, all right, I will, but if it's okay with you, I'll spend it all on mosquito nets and vaccines. And then they don't know how. Maybe that's why. Actually, maybe we've just stumbled towards it together. Maybe the reason why because somebody somewhere is behind these conspiracies, and who is most likely to be kryptonite? To use a much shallower example, it's like Lineker inviting a refugee into his house. What's the worst thing you can do to these people that seek to portray any act of altruism or human decency as fraudulent or virtue signalling? That Bill Gates is kryptonite to them. So that's how he ends up at the top of a conspiracy theory like this, because like Warren Buffett, like George Soros, they actually use their enormous fortunes to do good. So the people determined to cling on to their enormous fortunes forever and never share them at all, they must hate Bill Gates and George Soros, which perhaps explains why they both end up at the top of so many conspiracy theories.
Well, absolutely, and I think some of the admiration Bill Gates gets as well is that his foundation has pledged that all the money will be gone at 50 years after either he or his wife passes away, to prevent it from becoming some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, yeah, well, clogs to clogs in 3 generations being the normal experience, but of course wealth retention and handing on even more to your heir than you inherited from your father usually, or grandfather, is essentially the defining feature of the British ruling classes. I think that's what it is. I think that if you just pick Gates and Soros, right, why would anybody have a problem with them? Answer, well, only really rich people who want to use their money for ill would have a problem with them, because here are some billionaires showing that you can actually be generous and share. Ergo, the billionaires that run much of the media must despise them. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm doing my own conspiracy theory. Karen's in Hertfordshire. Karen, what made you pick up the phone?
Hello. Oh, hello, James. I'm really nervous.
Don't be.
Actually, you touched on it is a religious thing. It is totally to do with a religion.
What is, Karen?
The end times, and it's to do with Satan. People pray to him, and the top people have got all the money and the riches.
This is what are you telling me, or is this what you believe as well, Karen?
I believe part that
Okay. So who, for example, who is the most prominent Satanist?
Please let me talk.
Well, you are
Right.
talking, Karen.
Okay, Satan wants to destroy God's world,
Yes.
and all the people who.
So who would be, because we are going to run out of time, and I've got the gist of what you're telling me. Who are the most prominent Satanists, do you think, in society at the moment?
Bill Gates, George Soros, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, George Bush.
Right.
And then there's
And if I were to ask who you follow, who are the people that you get your truth from?
The Bible, Jesus.
So the Bible doesn't mention Hillary Clinton. I was reading it on Sunday. So the people who told you that Hillary Clinton is a Satanist?
The Bible says there's a mark of the beast that's coming at the end times.
Yes, I know, but who told you Hillary Clinton was a Satanist?
I look things up and everything.
Yes, but where did you look it up? Where did you look it up?
I'm more interested in the Bible side of
Well,
it.
so am I, and that's why I was surprised you just listed a bunch of people who aren't in the Bible. So who told you that Barack Obama was a Satanist?
You can look things up.
I know. Where did you look it up? What was the source? Who that said George?
I don't want something. I want to look it up. What's going on?
No, I know. Where did you look? Where did you find the evidence that George Bush is a Satanist?
You're trying to distract me from what I'm saying.
No, I'm literally asking you to prove what you're saying. Hillary Clinton is a Satanist. Who says? Where did you get that information from?
I can't prove that, but the end time.
No, but you don't need to prove it. You just need to tell me where you got that idea from.
Right, in the Bible.
No, but you didn't get it from the Bible because Barack Obama isn't in the Bible. So where did you get the idea that Barack Obama is a Satanist?
I'm interested in Barack Obama. I'm saying what's coming.
No, I know, but you told me Barack Obama is a Satanist. I want to know where you got that from. I mean, you could say it was a vision from God if you wanted. At least that would fill the gap where the answer should be. So, go on.
I just read the Bible and I know what's coming.
But we know that the Bible didn't tell you that Barack Obama is a Satanist, Karen.
I'm interested in Barack Obama. I'm interested in the vaccine.
Yes, but who told you Barack Obama is a Satanist?
People pray to Satan.
Yes.
People pray to him.
Yes.
And he gives them riches and tells them what to do. Satan wants to destroy God's world.
Yes, no, I know what the Book of Revelation says, but you listed a lot of human beings.
I know you go to church, don't you, James?
You listed a lot of, well, not a church like yours, Karen, but you listed a lot of human. You listed a lot of human beings. You listed a lot of human beings who are. You said are Satanists, and you must have got that source from somewhere.
You go to Catholic Church. Do you believe in Satan?
Lord above. The question is a simple one. Who told you?
Destroy God's people.
Yes, but who told you Barack Obama is a Satanist? I just want you to show me where to look. Where can I do the research? That's a better way of phrasing the question. Where can I find all this information?
I don't know, just put in Satanist and Barack Obama. I don't know, put it in. I don't know.
So you don't actually know where you got this information from?
I just look things up. I don't know which sites I'm in. I just look things up. I want to know what's going in my arm. I want to know where it's
But
coming
you just said
from.
you've got no idea what the sites are you're looking at. How do you know that they're true?
How do you know anything's true? The only true thing is the Bible.
Yes, which doesn't mention Barack Obama. So again, I mean, the idea that he's a Satanist or that the vaccine is not to be trusted, where do you get that information from, Karen?
Oh, my word. Right, I thought we were talking about the vaccine.
Well, no, you started talking about Satan immediately you came on the programme.
Yeah, because that's...
And so the question remains, where do you get this information from? Because I'd like to have a look. So what are the sources?
What, that Satan wants to destroy the world and God's world?
No, that Barack Obama is a Satanist and that the vaccine is part of Satan's toolbox.
Yes, that the vaccine is, yes.
Yeah, so where do you get that idea from? Because I'd like to research it further.
Because we're going to all be marked, James.
I know, but the vaccine and Barack Obama are not in the Bible. So where did you get the idea?
Why do you keep going on about him? Go on, let's talk about the vaccine.
Yes. Okay, where did you get the idea that the vaccine is the work of Beelzebub?
Because it's going to have chips in it. It's going to have
Yes,
DNA.
where are you getting this information from?
I look it up. You can look it up. You can
Where?
just look
Where do you look it up, Karen?
vaccine, and then things come up.
Yes, but what are they? Where do they come from? Who checks
I'm
them?
not going down to my GP and having something put in my arm that I don't know anything about, where it's come from, why it's only come out.
But you can research where it's come from. That's what you just told me. You researched where it comes from. So where do you find this stuff out?
It's a bit quick, isn't it, for a vaccine? They take years to come out. It's all been pre-planned.
Right. And again, for the final time, the idea that it's all been pre-planned as part of a satanic conspiracy, and all I'm asking is where I can go to find out more.
Just look on the internet, just look things up, just put vaccine in, put anything, any word you want, look up. People put good things in about
And
the
how can you tell which sites are trustworthy and which sites aren't?
I don't know anymore, because even the media is not trustworthy. Everything's been taken over.
By whom?
Literally everything.
By whom?
The cabal, whatever you want to call it, the pyramid people, the Illuminati, the...
All right, Karen. Stay away from scissors, won't you?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
How do you solve a problem like Karen then? And don't be mean about Karen. It's all goes a bit Brexity sometimes when people have the confidence to come forward and reveal what they believe or what, but possibly not why they believe it. And then all the other people who believe the same queue up to say, oh, you've chosen a really dumb one or you've chosen a really stupid. That's simply not true. My toolbox does not contain anything that helps me fix a problem like Karen. Okay? And I know, I'll read Michael's tweet, actually, because this is me, Michael. I'm the same as you. Wow, I laugh at first hearing people say all this, but by the end of the call, I just feel sadness, genuinely feel sorry for her. It must be horrible and scary not to have the awareness to see through these conspiracy theories. First thing I think at the end of a call like that is I wonder whether she has children. How can you help? I lack the tools to help, okay? And I don't know what they look like even, but I do know that problems like the one we just witnessed are caused by a widespread assault upon the truth, led by, well, the most dangerous people are the most powerful. Adam's in Liverpool. Adam, what's going on?
Hi, James. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate.
Good. Yeah, so I just listened to the initial call, or the call just before that you had with that lady. She struggled really to get her point across.
I don't think she did, actually. Her point was fairly clear, that the vaccines are the work of Satan and that Barack Obama, George Bush, Hillary Clinton and others are all in the Dark Lord's service.
Yeah, so I've got a starting point anyway, I think, based on all of this kind of subject matter. And the place that I want to start is there are elite think tanks, which I'm sure most people are aware of. We look at, like, the Bilderberg Group that were sort of founded.
Oh, boy, you're one of them. I'm so sorry, I didn't realise.
Say again? No, look, I think, let's take it another way. Let's look at it. I think
well, let me remind you what the phone-in's about today, okay?
I know what it's about.
Right, so talk to me about microchips in vaccines.
Okay, so microchips in vaccines are not necessarily going to happen at this point in time with this vaccine. But however, the vaccine can be used to create another mechanism potentially to take away people's freedoms and rights.
How does that work, mate?
Okay, well, let me explain. I can go into a bit more detail.
But just give me the idiot's version, because I'm not sure I'm up to the full fat.
No, you are.
Tell me how a microchip can be used to control me.
Okay, well, we're not talking specifically about microchips here. What we're talking about is maybe a health passport that would run alongside a vaccine. So once you've had the vaccine, you're then free.
You mean like we have at the doctors to tell us whether we've had our TB or our jabs?
Potentially, yeah.
And the doctor looks at it and says he hasn't had his jabs yet. I'll drop him a text, and then he goes in and gets it. So we've already got that.
Yes, but I mean that. Well, yes, and you know, once you've had your test, which I've had multiple, so that I can work, and in Liverpool currently, the testing is working well. I think it's healthy to have people tested quickly so they can get back to work and keep moving, and they don't have to isolate. But you're specifically drilling into nanobots and nanotechnology, which exist, but we're not saying that they're in this current vaccine. What we are saying is that they're going to use a health passport running alongside the vaccine to stop movement. That is potentially...
You have lost me, which could be my fault. As a general rule, if you mention the Bilderberg Group, I struggle to take you as seriously as perhaps I would like to.
Okay. Can we focus on that?
No, let's not. Let's focus on what we're talking about, which is the idea that the vaccine is going to be a vessel used to inject me with something that they don't tell me about.
That's what you want me to focus on, because instantly...
Because this is a phone-in show presented by a phone-in host who set up the phone-in topic of vaccines containing... So it's not a conspiracy. There's no massed ranks of Satanists conspiring against you. I've asked a question live on the radio. You've rung in to answer it, Adam.
Okay.
So fill your boots.
The lady that I spoke to before, I'm guessing somebody who works for the producer, she's
a Satanist, mate. I wouldn't listen to anything that she says. So just talk to me about vaccines being used to inject me with things I don't know about.
It's a very, very difficult subject to discuss. I can't.
Well, you kind of knew that this was going to happen when you rang in to discuss it, right?
But I'm not saying.
You sound almost as if you're embarrassed by what you believe and you're wary of saying it out loud, having listened to Karen.
No, you're saying that. I'm not. What I actually came on to discuss was you generalise conspiracy theories in quite well this morning, and I felt that it was important to give you an understanding where the idea of Satanism comes on, where all these ideas come from, because that's really what's important. So you can have a better understanding of why people think this way.
Yes, go on.
Yeah. So there are elite think tanks, and those elite think tanks started. One of them.
Mate, you've done it again. You need to talk to me about the technology, not just the theories. So the idea that the vaccine.
There is a point to what I'm saying, and I am going to get to that point, but you have to let me just get to it rather than drilling into the vaccine and nanobots.
Well,
can you do that?
No, of course not, because the conversation is about vaccines and nanobots, not about the Bilderberg Group, Adam.
Okay, so the Bilderberg Group was... I need to explain that to get my point across.
Mate, I'm a radio phone-in host. I was listening to people wang on about the Bilderberg Group when you were still in short trousers. Just explain to me who wants to get something into my bloodstream using the camouflage of the vaccine. Who is my enemy? And don't say Satan.
Okay, no, so there are a group of people in this world that are hell-bent on population control. Do you agree with that to a certain point or not?
If you're talking about Bill Gates' belief that massively reducing infant mortality in parts of the world where...
Let's not specifically point out Bill Gates.
You see, every time you ask me a question and I start answering it, you have a problem, Adam.
No, I don't have a problem. Honestly,
you do. I know that people talk about population control with great ignorance as a result of comments that Bill Gates has made about seeking to reduce infant mortality. So yes, I agree with you that there are a lot of very deluded and mistaken people out there who think that rich people want to reduce the total population of the world for their own nefarious ends. But for the final time, who wants to inject me with something secretly while pretending that it's actually a COVID-19 vaccine? Give me some names.
Well, that's not the reason I called on today.
Well, you have a great day. There is, I mean, do you know, it was Mark Stevens, I think, that brilliant media lawyer, about 150 years ago, when I first started thinking I might be able to do this kind of thing for a living. I was sitting in a studio. There used to be a radio station called 5 Live on the BBC. I don't know if you remember it. And I was sitting in a studio over there at midnight, and they used to give you wine to get the old juices flowing when you're doing the paper review. And someone rang in to talk about the Bilderberg Group. And Mark was there and just gave me a quick lowdown on what it was and why it was so popular with conspiracy theorists. And it's still out there 20 years later. But the reason I mention it is what I love about that is that always, whenever it's mentioned on the radio, a significant number of people hear Build-A-Bear, which is a wonderful chain of shops where you can customise your own stuffed toys. I love but that used to be funny, right? So people getting Bilderberg and Bilderbeer mixed up used to be funny until you realise that the QAnon conspiracies actually do involve the claim that children are being secretly smuggled in flat-pack children's fun. Oh, I give up. Ah, God. I mean, what do you do? How do you help these people? Ed's in Hounslow. Ed, what do you reckon?
Good morning, James. I was disappointed that...
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, I should say, yeah. I was disappointed that Karen was really couldn't give the points that she wanted to make and give the evidence and whatever. Well, I have irrefutable proof that James O'Brien is a disciple of Satan.
Okay.
And that's irrefutable.
Yes.
So there we have it.
Okay. So when you rang in, what did you think was going to happen? I don't want to sound ungrateful, but are you being funny or are you being too clever for me?
Well, I'm not sure. You must let me know. What I can tell you...
Well, I can't tell you the contents of your own mind, Ed.
No,
I don't think there's a microscope big enough.
I'm telling you what you're asking me to tell you, that's all. All I can say to you is that, yes, we are in a world of deceit. There is conspiracy all around us, and so we mustn't rule anything out. If somebody tells us something that we should be concerned about, we shouldn't dismiss it. We should look into it. That's the point, couldn't we?
No, I've no idea, Ed.
I thought you might not have.
How did you vote in the referendum?
Why would you need to know that?
Well, because I already know.
Well, I haven't called in about the referendum.
No,
I called in about what you asked me to
But I
call
already
in about.
know. Sorry, I thought we were doing jokes about reading each other's minds. And you just accused me of being a disciple of Satan, and you're throwing your toys out the pram because I suggested you voted leave in the referendum.
I thought we were talking about conspiracies.
Yes. Go. Oh, no, Ed, don't go. It was brilliant. I was. Oh my days, they walk among us. Roy is in Lewisham. Roy, go on.
Hi, how you doing? How you doing, mate?
Yeah.
I do believe that with this virus,
yes,
they will put a chip in there so that when the chip is in the virus now and they give it to us, that chip will sync us to the 5G, and the latest is the 6G. I do really believe in that. And
okay,
at the
who
same
told
time,
you, Roy? Where did you get your information from?
Oh, I investigated.
Yes, no, I know you did. And what did you find in your investigations? Where did they lead you?
I found that this virus is not really...
No. What did you find in the context of the results? But where did you find it? Where did your investigations lead you?
Well, internet, YouTube.
Yes, but that's like saying the world. So the people you trust. Give me some names of the people you trust.
Who can I say now?
I don't know.
I tell you the truth, right? I don't really want to say any names.
Why not?
Right, I just want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I know, but I have this obsession with evidence and facts, so I can't just let you talk about it. I have to know what the provenance is, what your source is, who you trust, who for you are trusted brokers of truth.
I trust in faith and what I hear and what I see.
Yes, and who did you hear? Who did you hear or see explaining to you that the vaccine will contain a chip that syncs you with 5G? Who told you that?
Well, obviously, I look on YouTube and I look on the internet.
But who? Give me some, because I look on YouTube and I see pictures of, cats juggling. Who told you this?
Juggling. People who are interested in life.
For example?
Okay, David Icke.
Okay. And he thinks the Queen's a lizard.
And there is more. Well, yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
So you also think the Queen is a lizard, do you?
Why are we going down that road for?
Because you just mentioned a man who is most famous for believing that the Queen is a lizard.
But he doesn't just talk about the Queen. He talks about everything else around what's going on.
Yes, I know, but do you believe the Queen is a lizard?
No, I'm not going to answer that question.
Why
We're talking
not?
about the vaccine.
Okay.
We're talking about the vaccine.
Okay, but the person that you trust on this, I'm just giving you another example of his public pronouncements. In pursuit of establishing how trustworthy he might be, and you've said, "Oh no, don't talk about that," which suggests to me that you kind of
He talks about everything else, just like everybody else. It's not just about the Queen; it's about the world and what's going on.
Yeah.
So with this virus, and they'll put a chip in the virus, and we're all going to take this virus. Even if we say no,
vaccine. They put a chip
they're
in the
definitely
vaccine.
going to send in. They're definitely going to send in the army so that we can take this.
Right.
Okay. A lot of us don't want to take it.
What if they don't, Roy? What if they don't send in the army? Then do you suddenly realise that this was all a load of rubbish, or do you come up with another explanation as to why it's all
they
true?
Will, because they want to control us.
Why do they want to control us, Roy? Why do they want to control us?
Because there's too many people in the world.
Right.
There's too many of us.
But that would involve killing us, not controlling
Well,
us.
of course, it's a part of controlling and it's a part of killing us.
So they will inject you with they'll inject you with the chip in the vaccine that will sync you with 5G, and that will then kill you.
Of course, because once the chip,
what will you die of?
1 second.
What will you die of?
Once the chip is inside of you,
yes,
they can switch you off anytime.
Right. So it'll be like an on-off switch in our bloodstreams. I know, yeah. I'm ridiculous, aren't I? And just briefly...
No, you're not ridiculous. I don't mind you.
No, I know I'm
like
not.
Because I do listen to you on the radio.
Well, I'm kind of glad to hear it. What are you doing now, Roy, in your life generally, that would make them, whoever they are, want to switch you off, whatever that means? What is the threat
because
you pose?
I wouldn't want to take the vaccine, say the truth.
Well, then you'll be fine, will you?
Well, no, I will not be fine because at the end of the day, they want everybody to take the vaccine.
Yeah. Who's they, again?
It's the people who are in charge.
Who's in charge?
Got money.
Who's in charge?
People got money, billionaires, all those guys who want to control, who want to...
like Kim Kardashian? Kim Kardashian?
Kim Kardashian?
She's a billionaire.
You're joking now.
She is a billionaire. Well, her sister is, then.
It's these people who are on top.
Who? Give me some names. Roy.
Well, okay.
Go on.
You got Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Right.
Why is he giving all his money away then?
Oh, come on, man. It's just a trick he's giving. It's a solid trick.
Right. So the man who thinks the Queen is a lizard is telling the truth, and the man who has provided receipts of all of his work in Africa is tricking you.
Listen,
Roy, I'm going to meet you halfway. I'm going to meet you halfway, okay?
Can I just say this?
No. I'm going to meet you halfway. One of them is tricking you. But it's probably the bloke who told you the Queen is a lizard, as opposed to the bloke who has given away or is in the process of spending the bulk of his fortune on protecting the most vulnerable people on the planet from avoidable death. And I mean physically vulnerable. Oh, one more? John's in Sunderland. Go on, John.
Hi, James.
Hello, mate.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. What would you like to say?
Hi, mate. Everything's just going crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
I just believe that the vaccine is just a tool to control everybody.
Why do they want to control you?
Because the world is overpopulated and the need to reduce the population on the planet.
Right.
And COVID-19 is just the beginning.
Why are they picking on you?
It's not just me, it's everybody, and you'll see.
So who survives? Who gets to survive?
The strongest and the richest.
But the vaccine won't know how rich I am, will it?
No, but if they've created this virus...
What if I get the vaccine on a Friday when I'm poor, and then I win the lottery on the Saturday, so I'm rich? Will I be killed on the Sunday or not?
It's not to do with you. It's the...
Well, it is, because you just said the rich people will be saved, and so I'm just wondering what would happen if I got the vaccine when I was poor, and then I became rich. Would the chip be able to tell that I'd won the lottery, do you think?
I'm not interested really in the chip. I don't believe that they can inject a chip in there.
Well, how are they going to control us all then?
Because they'll control you by saying that if you don't take this vaccine, you'll be restricted. You can't travel, you can't work, you can't go in shops.
Let's do this again, actually. I don't know if you've got a lot on tomorrow. We may return to some of this territory because it is, as I think we could all agree, simultaneously riveting and absolutely terrifying.